Welcome to Ceasefire, where civics meets civility and engagement meets empowerment. Ceasefire is hosted by former Bernie ISD trustee and owner of the Bernie Bookshop, Dale Adams, and by former Bernie City Council member and local insurance agent, Ron Cisneros. Ready, aim, ceasefire.
Good morning. Welcome to Ceasefire. My name is Dale Adams.
And I'm Ron Cisneros.
And today we've got the Director of Communications for Hill Country Daily Bread Ministries, Debbie Watson. Welcome, Debbie. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about what Hill Country Daily Bread does, and then we'll talk a little bit about you.
Okay, perfect. Hill Country Daily Bread was founded in the year 2000, so we are 25 years old.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We are in the heart of Bernie. Our original building is actually right next to El Chaparral. If you've seen the little teeny tiny garage to the left of El Chaparral, that's our original building.
Okay.
So we've come a long way. We're now in a big red barn on Cascade Caverns. We are not a bakery. So we are Hill Country Daily Bread Ministries, and our purpose is to provide food, clothing, and mentoring to families living in the Hill Country. We serve 8 counties and a little over 80,000 people a year.
Wow. That's a lot. And you actually do it through various other charities, churches and whatnot, rather than directly with the people, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So we like to think of ourselves as a toolbox for the churches in the 8 communities we serve, because we believe that we want to give the hand out and give them food and clothing, but we also want to give them a hand up. And we know that the key to that is relationships.
Yeah.
We serve people that are living in generational poverty, and they may have multiple families living in the same roof. But we also have people who've lost their job, or it's summertime right now, and we've got teachers, we've got bus drivers. They don't have a salary over the summertime. Mm-hmm. So these families come to us for help. We serve anyone. We don't require any kind of qualifications. Anyone can come in for food once a month, no questions asked. But ultimately, we'd like to meet with those folks, pair them with a mentor to walk alongside them, build a relationship, and then we would work with them every other week and come up with a plan to help them move on and move forward in life.
What was the genesis for Hill Country Daily Bread? How was it conceived? Why was it conceived? And what got it launched?
Well, it was conceived by David and Agnes Hubbard in the year 2000 when they were adopting their own babies, and just David felt a tug on his heart to serve the community. They started by providing food and blue jeans, as I understand it. We used to have a denim factory here in town, and they provided blue jeans, and they provided food, and they shared the gospel. So the mission is, of course, to be the hands and feet of Christ and to draw people who don't know Jesus to him.
I had no idea we had a denim factory here.
Neither.
I don't know where it was. Sorry.
Wow. News to me. Something we need to investigate.
Yeah.
Figure out where that went. So, and now it's obviously a very large operation. I mean, it's grown quite a bit from that little garage.
Yes, we've moved twice since then. We moved to a building on Industrial in Bernie, and now we're at 38 Cascade Caverns Road. And as I mentioned, we serve 80,000 people. So we not only mentor and partner with churches, but also we act as a food bank to any of the local nonprofits. So if a nonprofit's having an event and they're not charging, we're going to provide from the blessings that we have in our warehouse.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that aspect.
Yes. So we have basically a food bank for any other nonprofit. So we'll partner with schools to provide clothing, sometimes food. We will partner with pregnancy centers, we'll partner with children's homes, etc.
Okay. And you're serving 8 counties right now. Okay.
Correct.
How do you find a church partner in Kerr County, or I'm not even sure of all the counties that you serve, but how do you find those partners?
So typically we have a person who works with the churches, and we'll go out and visit with those pastors. We'll find out what their needs are. And then we will develop that relationship and training. Right now we're training Mission City Church, which is in Leon Springs area,
Right.
San Antonio. So we're bringing them on board as a mentoring partner. So we will form a core team, and that team will be the people that come to us regularly, and they each have responsibilities. We go through a full day of training, and we use When Helping Hurts training, which I believe you mentioned on a former podcast. So we want to teach people not just to give out food and money to people in need, but actually to move them forward. So we work really hard to come up with plans. We have case managers on site who will work with those mentors. So the mentors don't need to know everything. We'll have a case manager walk alongside them and help them with these families.
Okay. Now, if a church decides that they want to start doing this type of work, or a nonprofit has a need, how do they reach out to you to try and start that process?
They just call our main number, 830-755-5200, and they let us know what they're interested in. A church can partner with us in a number of ways. They can partner to do a drive. Right now we're doing summer hunger drives through the summer. We want to feed those children who are at home. There's a lot of families where mom and dad are working. The kids are at home. Parents don't get a raise over the summertime, right? But those kids have probably been on free or reduced lunches and breakfasts at school, and that's no longer available. So this summer we are working on providing 35,000 meals to cover the children that we provide food for over the summertime. And we want it to be easy to prepare food. So the kids at home are not going to be using the stove. We want it to be microwave, kid-friendly, and a little bit healthy. Otherwise, those kids are going to be really hungry over the summer. Yes.
Yeah.
So walk us through that process. A family in Bandera County, and you've got 2 kids at home over the summer. How does the food leave your center here in Boerne and work its way into Bandera?
Okay, so any family living in the counties we serve, including Bandera, can just come in, and once a month they'll get the food. Otherwise, the churches usually will let us know we have X number of families that we are working with, and the church person who's assigned to come to us will come every 2 weeks and pick up the boxes with these kid-friendly bags that will be going out every 2 weeks to the kiddos. They'll take them back to their church, and the beauty of this program is the mentors actually go into the homes of the families, because I can show up and I can pretend I'm just like everyone else, and I don't have any challenges or issues. But you come into my house and you see my windows are broken, you see I have no air conditioning, no running water. You're a little more transparent in that discussion, and you build a much more genuine relationship, and then can really help that family move forward.
So when that mentor sees those things, are they bringing that information back to somebody and saying, okay, I also saw, beyond the hunger, I saw broken windows, and then there's a plan put in place to address those issues? Or
Definitely. So they will then work with the community organizations, whether they're in Boerne or Bandera. We make sure to seek out the appropriate resources. So we will work with other local nonprofits and see how we can help that individual.
Okay. We've mentioned Bandera, Kerr, and obviously Kendall. What are the 5 other counties?
It is Uvalde, Medina, Northern Bear, Comal, Kendall, of course, Bandera, Kerr, and Gillespie.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Okay.
So we don't have mentoring ministries in all of those counties. We are working towards it. But we do have, as I mentioned, the community resource where we will provide items to the local nonprofits, or we may do emergency services or emergency products to them.
It sort of sounds to me that while you do provide a resource for food, you become this network connector between those in need and the people trying to help them and those who can help those people.
Exactly.
And so I think that's very interesting that you've become this nexus of all these efforts and those in need.
Right. So that's why we call ourselves that toolbox, just kind of what do you need? How do you need to serve these people? And we will continue to grow. I didn't mention we also have a youth mentoring program. So on top of the mentoring we've talked about, which is family mentoring, we have Stand By Me mentoring, which is a one-to-one mentoring relationship with an individual and a child. I have mentored my mentee for about 8 years now, and she was in middle school when I started, and we meet weekly or every other week. In high school, it was a little less often as they're busy. She's now in college, and the first one in her family to be going to college. Her parents worked 2 jobs, They work, at the crack of dawn all the way through the evening. And we just want to talk about making sure that she's confident in her identity in Christ. We want to make sure that she knows that she has potential to go beyond what her family has gone for in the past. So we do that, and then we have a 7-week summer program for the youth, for any at-risk children, and that will be for the children to learn leadership and servanthood. So we want to teach them to serve. Anyone can give back. No matter how poor you are, no matter how destitute you are, anyone can give back in different ways. So we teach them to volunteer, we teach them leadership, and then we take them to a number of businesses to show them what's out there and what's possible, because they may not know what's really available to them. So we do that for 7 weeks.
Yeah.
Right.
With that, we're going to take a quick break. This is Ceasefire with Dale and Ron with our guest Debbie Watson, and we'll be back in just a moment. Bernie has its own bookshop. In fact, it's called the Bernie Bookshop. Hi, I'm Dale Adams, inviting you to get lost. Get lost in a good book in our relaxed and casual atmosphere. We have a wide and eclectic selection in the Bernie Bookshop, and we pride ourselves on finding what you are looking for. We do author meet and greets, host writing workshops, and can connect you with a good book club. And your young ones will absolutely love our kids section at the Bernie Bookshop. And while we want you to get lost, we're easy to find, as we're in the heart of Bernie at the back of the Richter Tavern building. We are the Bernie Bookshop. Welcome back to Ceasefire with Dale and Ron and our guest Debbie Watson from the Hill Country Daily Bread Ministries. Debbie, how did you get involved with Hill Country Daily Bread? What's your story?
Well, many moons ago, I worked at USAA, and I just felt a tugging on my heart to work in the nonprofit industry. So I called Agnes and asked if they had anything there that I could help with. I have been there about 8 years now, and I did start, as I mentioned, I mentor a youth. Well, now she's in her 20s, but I started with that. I started working with her as a mentor and just fell in love with the program. And then we have a clothing room, and I went in and just helped provide clothing. Families can come in and shop free of charge. And so these families would come in and they would need certain items, and we would work on getting them for them, because clothing gives them dignity. Yeah. And if they don't have clothing that fits, it can really provide an impact to their self-confidence.
Yeah.
So that's how I started, and then I've just kind of worked in different areas of Hill Country Daily Bread and have loved every minute of it.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah.
I think I know the answer to this, but where does all the food come from? And you mentioned clothing. Mm-hmm. How do you get the clothing?
Okay, so the food comes from a variety of sources. One is donations. Just individuals like you and me will do drives in communities, through businesses, etc. But we also get food from the food bank and the San Antonio Food Bank, which we're very grateful for. There is some of the food that's provided free of charge, and then some they'll charge, but it is pennies to the dollar, which is a huge blessing. We also pay for a truck that comes weekly, and that's called Operation Blessing. And again, pennies on the dollar. For $3,000, we can purchase an entire truckload of food worth $75,000. But it's a mystery truck. And so we never know what's on it. We found a bunch of new foods we've never knew existed. So
That could be exciting.
There's butterbeer goldfish we learned this week. So
Okay.
who knew?
Hey.
Yeah.
Yes. So then we also get trucks from the generosity of our local community stores, such as HEB, Walmart, and Target.
Okay.
So those are the main sources that we get our food from. And then the clothing, again, it's individuals, but if anybody out there has gone to Plato's Closet and donated their clothing, they will take the current season, and then they will say, do you want to donate the other items that we will not be keeping? And Plato's Closet generously donates the remainder of the clothing to us, which is a huge blessing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Awesome. So you mentioned a podcast that we did a few weeks back, and that's how I came to know you. I think you reached out to us via email, and we asked the question, who should feed the poor?
Right.
Yeah. And ultimately, I think our conclusion was that, look, it's you and me individually. You know, we have to stop looking to the government to do that, but we need to take it upon ourselves. And you might be asking, well, how am I going to do that? I'm just one person. And I think your organization, what makes it great, it's the same thing that makes our church community great, Rotary International great, Toastmasters involvement, Dale. It's, individually, there's not unless I suddenly got Bill Gates money, there's not a whole lot that I can do. Right. But as part of a community of people who want to serve, it's a great way to get involved and to answer that question, to step up and say, okay, I'm the guy that's going to feed the hungry, and here's how I'm going to do it. And your organization has, by its sheer size, now has the ability to draw in those resources and provide them in a better way than I could out of my garage.
Yeah.
Right.
It still keeps the local touch by having the mentors and the churches and the nonprofits involved.
Yeah.
And so you still have that all-important on-site people who know where the needs really are.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I enjoyed listening to your podcast, and I was thinking, yes, Hill Country Daily Bread can help, but every single person can help, and we invite volunteers of any age, so families can come with their 2-year-olds. And those 2-year-olds are precious, and they want to help, and they will pick up the cans, and they will put them in the bags and the boxes for the families. So we make sure that every single person feels a part of helping the people in need, whether you're volunteering, whether you're donating money, your talents, your gifts, anything that they can give will go towards serving the people who are in need.
Could you give us some ideas of some, so you mentioned putting, stacking cans or I guess boxing cans. What are some other things that if I wanted to be involved that I could do?
Sure. So they can volunteer in the warehouse, and there are a number of tasks from starting every Monday on building the boxes that the food goes into for the families. It involves separating the food, making sure that it is safe for the families to eat. We'll make sure it's not expired, etc. And then in addition, we'll separate things. If there's vegetables, if there's donuts, if there's bread that is not good for you and me, nothing goes to waste. We partner with pig farmers, horse farmers, ranches, and we will give that food to those individuals so they can feed their animals. So it's the circle of life.
Yeah.
If they don't want to volunteer in the warehouse, it is getting rather hot right now. We do have a freezer, though, so they can always go in there. But they can also volunteer inside, and we have a need for data entry people. We've got our summer academy I just mentioned that's coming up, the 7-week children's program. So we look for volunteers. We are, of course, looking for mentors. We've got a waiting list for families of over 100 families that are waiting for a mentor. Those families come to us every other Friday at Hill Country Daily Bread. We serve them individually until they receive a mentor. And we have children on a mentor waiting list as well. And then, as I mentioned, data entry and just individual projects. We have an annual fundraiser each year, so we're always looking for auction items, volunteers to help set things up, take things down, and we have various projects throughout the year as well.
And that annual fundraiser is the big gala.
It is.
Talk about that a little bit.
We have an annual gala, and it is either the last weekend of February or the first weekend of March. And I believe it's on February 28th this coming year. And that involves a huge tent that accommodates over 1,000 people. I will tell you that former Culinary Institute of America chef hosted 12 food booths this year, and it's likely he'll be returning next year. And it was a phenomenal dining experience that was different. And then we have an auction with 300 to 400 items, and so we have a lot of fun. That night we have entertainment, we have stories about lives that have been impacted. And that's our once-a-year annual fundraiser. It's the only in-person event that we hold right now annually.
Yeah, it's a big deal. I've been to it before, and
Great.
It's a huge deal. It's neat.
It is.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So you also talk about lifting people up and helping them lift themselves up.
Right.
What does that process look like? I mean, I'm sure it's different for everybody, but how does that happen?
It is different for everyone, but I think it always continues to refer them back to what the Bible says, and that each person is uniquely and individually created by God. And we look at identifying their gifts and their talents. We have parents who maybe just haven't had the will to get out of bed. So it can be as small as just making sure we call and let them know we care. Because if someone calls you and cares about you, you're more inclined to get up.
Right.
Someone loves you. So we're going to remind them that God loves them each and every day, even if they feel unloved by anyone else. We're going to make sure they feel seen and heard and just walk alongside them. And it does look different for each one. So if mom can't get up, we're going to pray and encourage her for that. But if it's somebody who's just lost their job, we will provide them with resources to help them find a job. We will encourage them. We will pray with them and just walk through that journey with them.
You're going down to the very basic, deepest levels of people's needs.
Correct.
Get them together again.
Yeah, we're going to fill their bellies with food. We're going to make sure they have clothes, but we need to go beyond that because that didn't fix the problem.
Right.
It is a help. It's a huge help, but it's just the beginning.
Debbie, what's the process for becoming a mentor? I think you mentioned there's some training. What does that look like?
So it would be working with your church and letting them know you'd like to be a mentor, or calling us and we can tell you which churches are involved. And then you become a part of what we call their core team and go through training that would include learning how to become a mentor. And then we'll pair you with a family or an individual, and we create those plans alongside you. And the case manager will talk to that mentor about every month and make sure that everything is going well. And then we'll also have the mentor and the individual come in, or the family, twice a year just to see that we're moving in the right direction and adjust the plan. So you're not just out there on your own after we start this journey. We're all in it together.
And it's one mentor per family, is that
Yes.
right? And so how many hours could a person anticipate on average spending per week with their family?
So the food distribution is every 2 weeks. Every other week, at minimum, it'd probably be an hour, but then it's really up to you and the relationship you have. So a lot of our mentors just become a part of the family. So they may hang out and go to a baseball game together. They may go to sports events. They may go to church together. It really depends, but it would be a minimum of an hour every other week. And then as for how long, just depends on the situation of the individual. As I mentioned, if someone just lost their job and we're helping them through that patch of having a job loss, or through the summer because your funds are tight through the summer, it could be a very short-term mentoring relationship, or it could be an elderly individual. And they may just appreciate that human touch every 2 weeks, someone coming again to tell them that they care.
When someone loses a job and they come to you, do you have a process to help them with things, say resume building or finding employment? Or
we don't provide those services on site, but again, we would partner with the organizations that do provide those services. So we'll refer them to people and businesses that can help with job search, that can help with resume building, etc. So we're again kind of that conduit. And we want to point them to all the places where they can get the appropriate help.
I'm going to jump in here real quick. Since this is brought to you by the Bernie Bookshop, I always bring out a book. And today I have a book by a gentleman named Vaclav Smil, and he's written quite a few illuminating books. And the title of this book is How to Feed the World. Pretty ambitious title. I'm not sure, I haven't read it, but I'm not sure he actually achieves it in here. But he has a lot of good suggestions, and he talks about the history and the future of food and why we do a lot of things in the food industry that we do globally in societies, and some ways that we can improve the way that it's done. So kind of a neat book, and we've got it at the Bernie Bookshop.
Well, Debbie, any closing thoughts for us? Any words you want to get out to the community?
I think I would just invite you to come out and visit us at 38 Cascade Caverns Road in Bernie. We would love to invite you for a tour every Thursday at 1 p.m. We offer tours if you want to give us a call and let us know you're coming, 830-755-5200. You can also visit us on our website. You can learn what we do there. You can learn more about family mentoring, Stand By Me mentoring, about volunteering, and about our summer hunger campaign. And our website is hillcountrydailyBread.org.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you for being on the show.
Yes, thank you for coming in and illuminating conversation. And I wish you the best, and I hope you continue to succeed. You guys have done quite a lot for this community, and the growth that you've shown shows that you're doing a lot for other communities too. So that's really wonderful.
Thank you.
And with that, I think we're going to wrap it up. This is Dale and Ron with Ceasefire, brought to you by the Bernie Bookshop. And if you missed any of this, you can always go to bernieradio.com and check out our podcast there and listen to any of our other ones also. Thank you.